Yo, that episode of Rakugo was... Yo, that was probably one of the best episodes that we have seen of this season by far. Now, I'm just going to say right now, little disclaimer, I am not going to, review the entirety of this episode, scene by scene. I'm not going to do that. This episode right here, this review, I am just going to focus solely at what happened on the finale of this episode, because if I were to, talk about this, whole episode, as well as talking about the event that transpired in the end, like, this video will be twice as long, so let's cut it short. So there is a theater that Yakumo actually goes to finally do his Rakugo, and he apparently ends up going to a prison, and apparently Yakumo has been to one of these prisons before and actually has done Rakugo for them as well, and he liked the cold atmosphere. It brought, a smile upon his face, of all places, and he goes to yet again another prison and does the same thing, and he starts to tell the Rakugo story of the Shinigami. Yo, I'm getting goosebumps already, man, because, like, the Rakugo that was done by him when it comes to, that part of the episode, Shinigami, it was like, yo, you can definitely tell that this is symbolism right here. This is foreshadowing right here. Foreshadowing more than symbolism, I would say that. But he did this Rakugo on a whim. He's like, I'm getting too old for this shit. I don't even know how I did that, But by the end of this episode, this is where the episode just skyrocketed, Oh my god, man. I don't even know where to begin, to be honest with you. I don't, but I'm going to try to, do my best. I'm going to try my very best when it comes to this part. But the symbolism or the foreshadowing that was taking place when it comes down to that event of the episode that ends up transpiring at the end when it comes to the whole Rakugo story of the Shinigami actually takes place in the same theater that Yakumo ended up coming to the first time he was, ever doing Rakugo. The first time he ever did Rakugo, he was at this specific theater, and now it has become an old, decrepit place, kind of like Yakumo. And he starts doing Rakugo by himself in this theater, kind of like to, I guess, relive his past experiences that he had. And right here, I was like, yo, he said he's gonna die doing Rakugo. He's gonna die. He's gonna die right here. And you see, like, different perspectives of him and also another individual, which is him also playing the role of the Shinigami. And, like, basically you have himself playing as the Shinigami and him himself playing as, the victim, necessarily. And it's like, the symbolism right here is where, Yakumo is basically haunting over, Yakumo himself. Like I stated before, Yakumo's guilt of Sukeroku's death and everything that has happened before him, he takes on that burden. He thinks that he is the one that caused this. All of this guilt has been a burden, and he feels as though a Shinigami is haunting over him. And the Shinigami is like telling Yakumo, your time is about to run out. Once this fire ends up ceasing, that will be the last bit of fire that's within your body. You will completely die out, just as much as the others in the theater have already. And, that was fucking some powerful shit. And you see Yakumo still going on with his Rakugo, but he's getting, like, very intense in the moment. Very intense to the point in which he does die. Now, let me clarify as to, why, we didn't really see that happen in the episode. But let me just, keep on talking and I'll explain. Now, in my personal opinion, Yakumo died right then and there. And then that is when he saw Sukeroku. He woke up and was like, Sukeroku, you can hear me. I can see you. Is this heaven? That's what I thought it was, that he finally died off and was there to see Sukeroku again. You know, the two brothers, so to speak, finally making that reunion. They're both dead, but finally they made a reunion with each other. And then Sukeroku becomes really weird as well. He starts, we see the red eyes within him, kind of like how we did in this episode, and the last episode, or not the last episode, but the other episodes beforehand, in which Sukeroku has these red eyes, and he goes on over to Yakumo, and is like, this fire is no longer yours, let's get rid of it, bam. And Yakumo just accepts it, you know? I mean, Sukeroku is telling him to just die, so to speak, and Yakumo sort of accepts this as Sukeroku throws a candle already lit into the theater. And then the smoke ends up dissipating, and actually a fire ends up breaking out of the entire theater. While, you know, Yakumo is still going through this sort of hallucination, because apparently he hasn't really died yet, but it does seem as though he was brought to life in some way, because it's almost like he had a near-death experience. That's probably the best, statement I could probably put out when it comes to this episode of Shouwa Genroku Rakugo Shinjuu. See, now I'm second-guessing myself, like maybe he didn't die, but in my personal opinion, he did die right then and there when he did the Rakugo, and as he is seeing himself, you know, almost accepting his death as he has a little life within him, we then revert on over to, you know, back to reality, so to speak, and we see that Yakumo is actually in a place in which the fire of the theater is completely being consumed over him, and he actually sees this Shinigami hovering over his body as well, and it's haunting him, obviously, ready to bring him up to his death. And this is where we see Yakumo going like, I don't want to die, to where Yotaro actually burst in the theater and ends up saving Yakumo's life again. So he technically escaped death 2 times, I would say, because back in, you know, which last episode where we saw Sukeroku have red eyes in the opening was probably when Yakumo actually falls on the floor and is then brought to the hospital back when he collapsed. And then in this episode, we see almost, you know, a second time in which he almost died. Like, I thought he died right then and there, and I'm pretty sure he did. But in a way, he was kind of brought back to life. In a way. Like, it's really hard to make out, you know, what went down in Shouwa. But regardless, Yakumo escaped death. That's what you have to get out of this episode. And there's like, this episode was great. The foreshadowing, the symbolism that went on, even the camera angles as you see it slowly creep up on Yakumo. Like, this whole episode just made that part of, you know, the scene just so much more eerie. When Yakumo is doing his own Rakugo, you know, just the story of the Shinigami, in which the Shinigami actually takes over himself, his Rakugo, and is ready for the Shinigami to actually bring him up to, you know, death. You know, like, yo, dude, it's like, you know, dude, oh, man. Such a great episode of Rakugo. Like, it's really hard for me to actually, you know, continue on with this. Like, if I were to do a whole video on this, like, it would, again, be twice as long. But I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. But, yeah. Awesome episode of Shouwa. Really awesome episode. Like, again, like, I have no words, you know, left to say about, you know, what transpired in that part of the episode, because, like, just everything, like, it was really hard to take everything in. I was watching it with memory, and we were like, yo, shit, what's going on? Did he die? How? What, when, where, how, high? Hi? I meant why? I don't know, man. This just, it was a great episode. It was a great episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on what you guys thought about this episode of Shouwa, and also just let me know what you thought about the ending entirely and just the foreshadowing that was brought about, the symbolism, just the whole scene that ended up transpiring in that part of the episode. Because that episode, to me, when it comes to that part alone, was what made the episode. That made the episode for me. And I think it's one of the best experiences that I've had watching this series of Shouwa. Like, it was that good. It was that good. And I really can't wait to see how this series is going to finish off. But yeah, again, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you all in the next one.